And we're going to take you live to Brisbane now, where Annastacia Palaszczuk is about to address the Queensland media.
Over to you, Premier.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, this morning I received a call from Tim Nicholls, leader of the LNP, conceding defeat in the state election, and I wish him and his family all the very best for Christmas and their future. The Electoral Commission has now declared a majority of the seats have been won by the Australian Labor Party. I have just visited the Governor and advised him I am confident I can command a majority on the floor of the Queensland Parliament. The Governor has accepted my advice, and I've recommended that the new government should be sworn in next Tuesday. For Queenslanders, this means a strong, stable Labor majority government, dedicated to work for them. A strong, stable majority Labor government that I lead will be committed to working with business and industry to create jobs, provide access to quality health care and deliver rewarding education for all young Queenslanders across our state. Labor members of Parliament will represent Queenslanders from the Torres Strait and all the candidates that worked very hard. I also want to thank my personal staff led by David Barbagallo, Kirby Anderson and Denise Spinks. As Premier, I will continue to work for all Queenslanders. I will continue to deliver what I promise. I will continue to put Queenslanders first. It's easy in politics to talk about a problem and to blame someone for it. But the really hard and meaningful work is finding lasting solutions to these problems. I made it clear when I became Labor leader 5 years ago that my focus was listening to Queenslanders and finding answers to their concerns. The concerns and hopes of Queenslanders that they discuss around their kitchen tables will be that they didn't take that decision lightly. I know this because I spoke to many of them, young and old, in their homes and in their workplace and in their communities. To them, I recommit my government to the key priorities of jobs, health and education. There's been a lot of comment about this election, making me the first Australian woman to be elected for 2 terms as a Premier. Let me be clear. My focus is on making the lives of Queenslanders better, not making records. However, I am proud that this Australian milestone is a Queensland milestone. Let's also remember Queensland women had to wait 45 years longer than men to get the right to vote in the first place. We have come a long way, but we need to continue to ensure all Queenslanders have equality of opportunity. I've had some preliminary discussions with ministers, and I will continue these discussions over coming days in relation to the makeup of my cabinet. On Monday, the caucus will be meeting at 11 a.m. I will be making recommendations to the Governor for the appointment of a new cabinet on Tuesday. And can I say in closing, I'm extremely humbled for the trust and support that the people of this state have placed in me. I won't let you down.
Premier, is this the sweetest victory of all?
Honestly, I am very pleased with the result. I know Queenslanders had to wait a couple of weeks. I was waiting with them. But at the end of the day, my job is about serving the community to the best of my capability.
An early Christmas present for you?
I'm looking forward to spending Christmas with my family, but it is very comforting that Queenslanders have put their faith in a stable Labor majority government. And they had a clear choice to make at the election, and I'm happy with the clear choice that they have made.
What's the first thing you'll do after being sworn in?
Yes, well, obviously it'll be to meet with various cabinet ministers. There will be 4 senior economic ministers that I'm giving due consideration to, because it's very important that we get on with the job of creating jobs for Queenslanders.
Jackie Trophy Treasurer.
I'm not commenting on the composition. I will be continuing discussions with colleagues over the course of the weekend, and you will see the results of that next week.
Do you think Jackie Trophy would make a good treasurer?
I'm not going to discuss any of those issues today.
Would you make a good speaker?
I'm not going to go into those issues today. I am just extremely humbled and proud to be the Premier of this great state. And as I've said previously, our best days are ahead of us.
So are you planning to write to the federal government about the veto of the Adani line?
Yes, that will be.
One of the first things this government do?
Yes, that will be done after we are sworn in, so probably first thing Tuesday morning.
Will it be a minor cabinet reshuffle, or are you looking at a wider change?
Well, I'll be continuing those discussions on the weekend, and you'll all find out in due course.
Premier, you mentioned solving problems. What about Queensland's credit rating?
Yes, well, of course, that is always going to be a priority of this government. And as we said during the election campaign, Moody's took us off a negative watch. And that's because of our good, sound economic management.
You had a pretty ordinary campaign, particularly in the first week.
Well, you might say that.
Well, I did remember just then and in the past. So you've had a pretty ordinary campaign in week 1 and in week 4. Did you ever contemplate that you'd come off the rails and that you wouldn't win?
No, not at all. I'm a very positive person.
How does the majority, how does it feel to have?
Oh, it's just it's an incredible sense of trust that the Queensland people have now placed in me. It's something I asked for, and it's something that has been delivered. And I plan to work incredibly hard for the people of this great state.
Do you feel that this gives you a majority?
Hang on, sorry, Stuart.
Do you feel the majority now gives you a mandate to push your agenda forward?
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, we have a very clear agenda: jobs, health and education.
Well, does it feel better to have won a majority, albeit only 1 or 2 seats, or was it better when you beat Campbell Newman?
Well, both are great. In terms of, I must say, you know, let's go back to it. We were a team of 7. We were a team of 7, then we became 8, and then we became 9. And we went on to form a minority Labor government that operated in the best interests of Queenslanders over the past 3 years. Now the people of this state have put their faith in me to lead them for the next 3 years with a majority Labor government. So, I mean, a couple of big milestones there, and I'm proud of both of them.
Will you have more or less cabinet positions than you did last time?
I'll be discussing the makeup over the weekend. You'll find out more information about that next week. I'll just take a couple of more questions because, as you can probably realise, I do have the flu.
Given that you've got that little bit of breathing room now, what sort of interactions are there going to be with the crossbenchers? It's quite a very...
Look, I've worked very well with the crossbenchers in the past. I think I've demonstrated that over the past 3 years, and we will continue to engage meaningfully with the crossbench when it comes to matters of legislation.
You said during the campaign none of them were forming a minority government.
No, but I didn't say I wouldn't be working with them in the best interests of Queenslanders in terms of legislation. Now, what that means is a minister would go and speak to the crossbenchers about the legislation that we plan to put forward in the Queensland Parliament. That is called consultative government, that is called good government, and that is called decent government, and that is what I promise the people of Queensland.
Are you worried that your Adani loan veto will be the death knell for that project?
No,
How will you celebrate?
because they have to stack up financially themselves. I've made that very clear, Mark.
How will you celebrate tonight? Will there be a suggestion?
With a cup of tea, and with some honey, I think, Patrick, for my throat.
Polish vodka. There was a suggestion earlier.
I'm quite sure my father might find the opportunity to drop around.
What do you think about the prospect of facing off against Deb Frecklington as the opposition leader?
I'm glad you asked that question. Look, I wish Deb all the very best. In fact, far be it for me to comment on the opposition, but if the LNP does not back Deb Frecklington, I fear that the Nationals will break away from the LNP. So there's a lot riding on who they select. But, you know, from where I sit, I think I've stared down Campbell Newman, I've stared down Lawrence Springborg, I've stared down Tim Nichols, so who's next doesn't really worry me.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
And that was the newly elected and obviously happy, if a little unwell, Queensland Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk claiming victory almost 2 weeks after the state election. The Electoral Commission of Queensland has today declared Labor has 47 seats in the expanded 93-seat parliament. It prompted the opposition leader Tim Nichols to call the Premier this morning to offer his congratulations as well as to concede the election. The new government is to be sworn in next Tuesday.